Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us today.
Yes.
And you first debuted the Lena Horne Project in Boston, correct?
Well, actually, it's a project. The Lena Horne Project is probably, I would say, more James Gavin's sort of brainchild, and he did, I think, introduce it in Boston, and they had other wonderful jazz singers on it. And James and I met later when he was debuting his book, and he had a book signing in Palm Springs, where I was actually doing a show called the Palm Springs Follies. And I went to see Kay Smith, Kay Ballard, Kay Smith. Kay Ballard, I always got those names mixed up, whom I knew back in the Ed Sullivan days, actually. And so I went to that, and James was there as well. He had just had a book signing on his book. And I told him that I had actually been thinking about Lena Horne and wanted to get in touch with her. And then he told me about the project, and we started talking. She actually died a couple of days later. And so, she had been on my mind for like a month. And I was just calling her and I said, do you know how to get in touch with Lena? And by that time, she was really sort of, not a recluse, but she wasn't getting out a lot. And so it was really one of those fate things, that we met. And then shortly after, his agents called and asked me if I'd like to be a part of it. I'm like, yes! So that's how I became involved with James.
What does Lena Horne mean to you personally?
Well, personally, I mean, in my household, in the black community, Lena and people like Ethel Waters, Lena Horne, those were the people that my parents admired because she was of that generation. I mean, I was born in 1944, and she was already a star. But, so for me personally, and I'm sure every other little black child, she was one of the first glamorous black people we saw on television, and in the movies. So for me and my family, I would say she was, she represented something that we all totally admired because there were so few glamorous black women and shown, in the mass media.
Well, tell us a little bit about Lena Horne. She was obviously a movie star and also a singer, but she was also involved with the civil rights movement, wasn't she?
Well, all of us black people were. I mean, really. But when you are a celebrity of any kind, your name is usually used, and that sort of garners more attention to whatever it is. But people like Lena Horne, Harry Belafonte were involved heavily in the civil rights because, of course, they had that sort of recognition and all. She personally was a person that kind of was caught in between because she was so fair, very light-skinned. And as she said in one of the pieces, in fact, in the show tonight, there's a piece that I read where she says, no one took her seriously, and she knew it. She said, the blacks didn't like me, the whites didn't like me. All they wanted was, they saw her as this black sex symbol who sang, torch songs. So she was personally really, really involved in it, in that probably because of her sort of not being accepted by anyone. And she felt, of course, very black. She didn't feel white, even though her skin was white. That's why what is that, the favorite Temptation song, don't judge a book by its color, or something like that, And and people do, but she was thoroughly a black person, but caught in the middle between everything. So for me, I could understand that back in those days, because we were drinking out of water fountains that said for colored only. So if you were black, you were definitely involved in it.
So tonight you're actually going to be playing Lena Horne, correct?
Well, that's what we should explain. No,
okay.
I'm not really playing Lena Horne. Mr. Gavin, who wrote the book Stormy Weather, just wrote this expose on her, and wanted to have like a spoken word where he reads excerpts from his book and then shows clips of her. And then he brings out whoever the singer is. It happens to be me this go around. And so I sing her songs. So I'm not really, you know, imitating her or whatever, but I do evoke that feeling of the 30s, the 40s, you know, with the hairstyles. I wear the 30s hairstyles. And I try to do a few of her expressions, but I'm not by no means portraying her. I just feel honored even to be, you know, in this project, so people can get a chance to look at the woman as a real human being, as a real woman, not just, you know, as she says, some female singer out there singing to a bunch of strangers, you know. So I'm just there to give that glamour. Because, you know, the Supremes had glamour, so it was kind of a natural thing.
Very true. You did have a lot of glamour.
Mm-hmm. And it was, so some of that came from her, you know, because she was one of the first that we saw of color doing that. We all admired and looked at the white, you know, stars of that day. One of my favorites, a little later actually, was Doris Day. In fact, I thought I was Doris Day because I was one of the first black girls who had the blonde hair, you know, before Tina and Mary J. Blige and all that. So, you know, Lena really was a glamour, and that's kind of who we emulated in many ways when we were younger.
What else can we expect tonight as well? I know it's kind of multimedia. You have
Yes.
some clips and some other things as well.
Yes, Mr. Gavin, the author, has put together a really great project in that it's a visual as well as they get to history. You get to really, really learn some history about American history, so you can expect a lesson. Because a lot of people have forgotten, you know, that all this happened in our lifetime. So he brings up these stories, not brings them up, I mean he reads them of her. So they get a history lesson on a human being, on a star, on America, on some of the laws that we had in those days. And then they get the fun part where I guess I come in, the glamour and the music. The music is beautiful. I mean, she was not even considered a great singer by many. I mean, she was nowhere like Ethel Waters and some of the others. But when you really hear her, and I've been studying her quite a bit, learning the project, you know, you get to see she had her own style, and she was really quite good at it. Well, I don't know, she wasn't really asking about this. I really should say something about this. So maybe we can hawk our two projects, and then I can leave.
There you go. You
That's
can
a good
talk about
area.
that.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
You can just start talking.
Right. Well, you know, what's really great about this whole project, the Lena Horne Project, is that we have out here, of course, our merchandise. and so I get a chance, and this is a new piece. It's the best of the Supremes on the Ed Sullivan Show. So at the concert, I call it a concert, spoken word in concert, you know, I have my jazz CD, and then I also have my books that I've written about back in the civil rights days. And James has his, or should I call you Mr. Gavin?
Oh, please don't. We know each other.
He has his beautiful
Only if I
book.
call you Miss Wilson.
Oh, you got to call me Ms. Wilson.
Wilson.
Okay. So, but you have your
I do.
so it's a beautiful book.
And this was your third book?
She'll hold it up.
It
like
is
this.
indeed.
Okay.
Yeah, right, there you go.
And how did you get involved in this
This,
particular project?
Whenever we're going to talk to him, I'm going to put the mic on him. So
Okay,
I'm just,
all right.
right
Why
now
don't
we're
we have
getting
a
the
microphone?
Kinda getting the dual, okay.
shot. So once y'all are good, getting some stuff together, then I'm
Okay.
going to switch the mic over.
All right, we'll let them continue.
Oh,
to
I
kinda
see
talk.
one. Okay, I
Yeah,
got it. Yes,
yeah,
so
so
that's fine.
Yeah, just
Okay.
kind of continue to talk about the project in general and what we can expect tonight.
If you switch the microphone over, would it catch both of us?
You put it on the other side.
You wanna do that?
It will. It's not ideal, but it will.
Okay.
Beautiful.
It's gorgeous. Tell us a little bit about it.
This is my third book. I am not a singer, I'm not a musician, but I am in love with singers. I love them more than anything else. And Lena Horne captured me when I was about 9 or 10 years old. I felt very moved by Lena Horne, even though her reputation, her facade, was a bit steely, it was a bit distant, it was very glamorous, and it wasn't a facade of, it wasn't a warm and fuzzy feeling that people got from Lena Horne. Lena Horne was grand. But I felt pain in that voice, and I was intrigued by all the layers of emotion that I felt Lena Horne conveying, and something drew me to her, even at that very young age. I did not know at that time that when I was 30 years old, I would get the chance to interview her for the New York Times, on the brink of what would become Lena's final reemergence, when she recorded a new album, her first in years, and did some new concerts at Carnegie Hall and other places, and was back in a limited fashion. And I spent 2 hours alone in a hotel room with Lena Horne, and it was the greatest interview experience of my life, because she felt like talking that day. She sensed that I cared, that I had done my homework, and she talked about anything that was on her mind and in her heart. And as I tell you about this now, I'm getting goosebumps, because to be confided in by a figure of that magnitude gave me a lot of hope for my future in this endeavor of interviewing people and finding out about their lives. Plus which, I'm very drawn to lives of turmoil, of struggle, that translated into artistic greatness. And Lena Horne, although she is not always acknowledged as this, was a truly great singer. She was a goddess of the nightclub stage. She was, as you know, Hollywood's first glamorous black star, one who was treated with the full respect on screen that Lana Turner received, that Rita Hayworth received. And I can only begin to imagine what this meant to African Americans of the 1940s to see one of their own presented with a degree of glamour and respect that none had ever received before. And so 10 years after that article ran in the New York Times, I decided to turn it into a book, and this was the result.
Very nice. And now you have a complete show with Miss Wilson here. And obviously y'all get along fabulously. Y'all look like y'all have a great time together.
Mary is a 100% joy. Her patience, her dedication, and her warmth are like none I've ever quite experienced before. The fact that I am sitting on stage, or standing on stage at times, with a Supreme is something that I still have not gotten over. I stand there and I watch her and I'm pinching myself. Mary is not in any way trying to imitate Lena Horne. Mary is Mary. There was only one Lena Horne, but Mary is part of a lineage of African American performers who descend from Lena, for whom Lena somehow opened a door. And there are areas of common ground, but Mary is up there paying tribute to someone that affected millions of lives, and she's doing it in her own way. Yes, they are both glamorous. Yes, they inspired millions of African Americans and Caucasians, I might add, because in these cases, in terms of the inspiration Mary has doled out, we all know the words to those Supreme songs. We have all watched Mary blossom on her own. And so I created this show in order to promote my book, and it kind of took on a life of its own. I met Mary last year, completely by chance in Palm Springs, California, and we got to talking and we hit it off. And I learned of her interest in Lena Horne, and we ran with it. And she agreed to do this show so that we could give our own personal nod to Lena Horne, who has changed our lives in various ways. I'm thrilled with the way that this has evolved. And the fact that we're here, excuse me, Mary, in Alexandria, Louisiana, which is a place I had never visited before. And because of Lena, we're here and we get to share this story with all of you. It means a lot to me.
Yes. You know, as well as for the black community, I just want to add this on to what James said. Lena was a star to the black community. And as it often happens, you're huge stars in your own sort of community, but then when it crosses over, then people tend to say, oh, now you're a star. When it wasn't that way. It's like she was a star, period. But now everyone got to experience that. And that's the beauty of you know, being that kind of a star, because you then are sort of iconic, you know, and you become, everyone says, oh my God, you know, look at this. like, well, we knew that all the time, you know. So it's wonderful for me to be able to pay homage to someone that actually inspired the Supremes.
Very nice. And y'all are at the Coughlin Saunders tonight, and looking forward to everything. How many times have y'all done the show? Are you going to do it again somewhere else?
We've done it a half a dozen times. We have several more dates and cities to visit after this, and then in 2012 we have quite a bit more. It's really just beginning. But the show is moving people, and that's what means the most to me. The story, Mary's singing, are touching people's hearts. Lena's story is empowering to people because Lena survived things that most of us could never imagine having to face, and she came out triumphant. Lena is remembered historically as victorious, and I think that people are getting a sense of that when they see this show.
Okay. Well, thank y'all very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Sarah.
it. I'm
We
looking
loved
forward
it.
to it. I
Thank
think it'll
you.
be fabulous.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.